What if I were to tell you that 99% of everything that you've ever learned in your entire life will die with you? And the rest might be remembered wrong or portrayed as something that never really was. And now, most of us will spend our entire life learning those little life's lessons. Some the hard way, most the hard way. So some the easy way, and a lot of them we wish we learned a lot sooner. But what happens to all those hard earned memories when we're gone? And how can we make sure that they leave a mark that continues to live on when we're gone? And I was thinking about my pops the other day. Don't know why he really crossed my mind, but if you knew my father, he was a man of few words. But when he spoke, most people tended to listen. Funny thing about my dad too, he never wrote anything down. Like I never seen him write anything down. Not a journal, not a letter, no notes, nothing, you know. So most of the things that he taught me were just by word of mouth or through his actions. And sometimes I'll catch myself thinking, about all the wisdom and knowledge and stuff that my pops handed down to me, plus the stuff that I learned on my own. And that if I don't pass that on, who will? It'll just disappear and be gone for good. It's just like that. I mean, all that acquired knowledge and stuff gone. And let me ask you something. You ever catch yourself thinking, what's the point in gaining a lifetime worth of knowledge and wisdom if no one even wants to hear it? Because wisdom isn't just this random pile of facts or advice. Excuse me. It's it's the hidden meaning behind those little stories. And those let me tell you what happened moments that life loves to throw at us. It's how do I want to say it? It's not the story itself, people, that really matters. It's the lesson that you learn behind the story. Because at the end, that's what's going to really stick with you long after the story's forgotten. But again, if we don't share them, they will disappear. And I just think that that's a horrible thought. Because the very things that we learn and work so hard to learn could be exactly what somebody else needs to hear to make it or to carry on. And then let me ask you another question, because I like questions. How many times has you hearing someone else's story helped you to understand your own story better? And maybe it was from a grandparent or a teacher or even some guy at the barbershop, and they enlightened you on something and it made you say, okay, yeah, now I understand why that happened. Funny. A single story, man, can change how you view this whole world. And we don't even realize how valuable our own wisdom and knowledge is. Not until someone that we love needs it and we're not around to give it to them. And I always say about wisdom and knowledge, people, it's better to have it and not need to use it than to need to use it and not have it. But again, if you don't share it, it'll just disappear. It's just a waste. And know too, no matter what you think, somebody somewhere out there needs to hear what you have to say. And have you ever not shared wisdom and knowledge because you just feel like your story doesn't matter to anyone anymore? Well, then know too, you're not alone in that. I'm sure we've all felt that way at some point in our lives. But again, that one little bit of wisdom or knowledge is exactly what someone else needs to hear. And I keep stressing that because it's true. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to someone and then later I run into them again, or we talk many months later, or sometimes years later, and they say, you know what, Unc? That little story you told me at the restaurant, that really helped me. And that's why I stress that so much. So, and I'll give you another example here. My son, some years back, called me about, I believe it was a leaky faucet that he had in his place. And he wanted to know how to fix it. And I could have easily told him, real quick, go to Home Depot, get this, measure this, do this. But no, I wanted him to, what's the old saying? If you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. Kind of that concept. And so I told him the story of me learning from my father how to fix a leaky faucet, and all the mistakes I made while we were going through that process and trials and tribulations, and how I finally did get it right in the end, though. And me and my father actually laughed about that for a long time. We actually went out and had pizza that night. And my son, some years later, would tell me that he remembered me telling him that story. And he said, Pops, I had another plumbing incident, but I didn't call you. I fixed it myself. And that made me proud and happy until he added this part. I didn't call you because I didn't want to hear a story. But he did later tell me that he ended up, one of his buddies called him about a plumbing problem, and he helped him fix it. So that's how wisdom spreads, people, is what I'm getting at. One little story at a time. How my knowledge given to him, he passed it along to somewhere else. So that's why I keep saying, share your stories. You never know who they're going to help. You may not help you may help the person you give it directly to. You may not. The person they give it to, you may help. You may save somebody's life. And so here's what I've been doing, and I've done it for a while, and I don't know why. I guess just me, weird. My wife says I'm weird like that, but I tell my stories all the time. You know that from being in the channel. Even the small ones, you're getting a story. If there's a lesson in it, I'm going to pass it on, because I just don't believe in hoarding information like that. If it's something I think will benefit the next man, then I'm going to help him. And I'll write them down too, just so you know, people. I write down the little ones and the things that people tell me with lessons in them, and I'll bring them up anywhere. I just do not care. I mean, dinner, bowling, post office, doesn't matter to me. If you're around, there's a pretty good chance you're getting a story. And again, they don't have to be big or fancy or anything like that. They just have to be real, and they got to mean something, And no two people. Every one of us carries some kind of wisdom or knowledge within us, whether we see it or not, And your stories, well, they do matter, and what you've learned matters. And please, don't let anyone tell you otherwise, or don't you ever forget that. And there's things that in my life I've learned that there's things that we can learn from each and every person. So don't ever look at someone and try to judge their situation, and maybe think to yourself, that person can't teach me anything, because 10 times out of 10, you'd be dead wrong on that. And I can tell you that person that you're judging, he knows something you don't know. And that thing that he knows might be the very thing that can help get you where you're trying to go. You never know. And also, again, I'm going to say it for the last time, be sure to share your stories, people, while you still can. Because as we all know, and especially at this age, we know, tomorrow's not guaranteed to any of us. And it would be a damn shame, to leave with all that wisdom and knowledge still locked up inside you, especially when it can benefit somebody today. It's sort of like taking what's the old saying? You can't take it with you. Like taking a treasure to the grave. Why? You can't spend it when you're gone. I don't understand that ideology or that. But anyway, while we're on that subject, I've been thinking about my own legacy a lot lately. You guys ever do that? Just been wondering what kind of mark I'm going to really leave behind. And what are people going to say when I'm gone, when my story is all that's left of the big fella, And if you've been asking yourself, the same kind of questions, stick around, stay tuned, as they say. Because in the next video, I'm going to talk about how to build a legacy that's going to last even after we're long gone. It's something we all got to think about, people. I know. No one wants to think about their own demise, but none of us is going to live forever. Yeah, because, as we age, at some point we realize that our legacy is going to be the only thing left. And that's going to be how we're remembered, And I truly do want to make my legacy a positive one, if at all possible. Most people, I think, would say that I'm a decent guy. Most people. And all people, be sure to come back for that conversation. You don't want to miss that one. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be in depth, and your input is always welcome, like I said. And again, as always, I thank you for pulling up a chair with me and staying a while and letting me get in your ear. Again, I appreciate you. And I know I can be a little aggravating, I can be a little long-winded, but at any rate, if you have something you want to say or share, a story, a comment, an idea, you just want to vent, hey, drop it down in the comments and let's talk about it. Because I can remember a time, when we were able to have real discussions and not just have everybody staring down at those damn little screens I hate so much. We could all agree to disagree, as they say. And we could argue for hours on the subject and have done it and still walk away as friends. And here at Man to Man, that's exactly what I'm trying to bring back. A place for us to have those real uncut discussions and still walk away as friends. Come to an agreement. I may not change your mind, you may not change my mind, but we've seen things from different perspectives. And feel free, people, to join in at any time. And as always, you thought you were getting a story, didn't you? See, you thought I was going to tell a story. And as always, I'm Unc. Take care of yourself and each other, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.